What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Powerline Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Ryan Lucas. All right, it has been brought to my attention. Well, I've known this for a while. I know that there's way more listeners out there than there is followers/subscribers. So I'm going to ask you guys to make sure that you follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to this on, because it's not me that cares so much. It's the people that you got to report the information to, or the algorithm that really cares about those stupid numbers like followers and subscribers, right? So just do me a favor, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. I'll quit pestering you about it. All right, let's dive into this week's episode of Powerline Podcast. Enjoy. All right, Braam. Been a couple years.
Yep.
Stoked to see you in this seat again.
Yep.
Last time,
not this seat.
Yeah, not this seat. That is pretty cool. Last time was the lazy Q, just a friggin' headset and
a 4x4 table, and now look at you.
I know, right? Crazy.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
It's impressive. It's not just impressive, but like really grateful for it.
Right.
Yeah, it's cool to have a space to do this in and people that support it. So
turns out hard work actually
pay
pays off, huh?
Yeah.
Look at that. A little persistency.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
All right. I know we did an episode before and we kind of talked a bit about your past and all that, but like I said, like lots has changed since then and lots of new people listening and all that sort of thing. So we're going to run through a little bit about who you are and where you come from and all that sort of thing. Give some background. What do I need to know about your childhood that would help me understand who you are today?
Well, I traveled a bunch as a kid. Was born in Chicago and then spent the majority of my childhood down in South Florida. First generation American. Mom and dad are South African. They split when I was really young, so I bounced back and forth between their houses. And like I said, majority of my childhood in South Florida. Grew up playing hockey, which I know is weird for Florida. Hey, it's turned into a hockey state, I guess. Panthers are doing okay.
I had Mark Savage in here the other day.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't like the Panthers at all, but I just want to say they're doing well. Lightning are doing well on them, but yeah. So I grew up playing hockey, and that took me up to Alberta for high school. That's where I've got a Alberta diploma. So that's
no shit.
Oh yeah, that's where I graduated high school.
About that.
Yeah, played juniors up there and tried to play juniors up there.
Tried to play juniors.
Yeah, it wasn't that good. But
how did that go?
More like I told you the last time, and I'm always honest about it. More penalty minutes than points by far.
You were the goon.
Oh, I tried to be. Like anything to not have the puck. I could get the puck. It was like a grenade. Get it away from me. But made some really good friends, really good memories up there.
Hockey's your sport then?
Oh yeah, for sure. Hockey and rugby.
Rugby?
Mm-hmm. I pid rugby up there too.
Oh, that's right.
Won 2 provincial championships.
That's right.
Yeah, they needed the American to come up and help them out.
I don't know. I think rugby's more our sport than it is yours.
Yeah. Turns out they needed me though.
What did Dad do?
He owns a wine business. He sells and imports South African wine. Yeah. So still doing that. Been doing that since like 1990 and.
I should hook up with your dad.
Sure, he needs a business. I'll give him a call.
Where does he live?
Still in South Florida. Mom and dad are both there.
Oh, they're both there.
Yeah,
okay.
My mom's moved a bunch since, and now she's back.
So everyone's left Chicago.
Oh yeah.
What was growing up in Chicago like? Did you grow up in Chicago for a while?
No, I was super young when we moved down. I think I was like 2 or 3, something like that.
Is Florida home for life?
Hopefully not. That's where the wife is, so that's why it's home. But
what does your mom do? What did she do?
She's had a bunch of different jobs. She's all over right now. She's like the event coordinator for a 55 plus community, and she lives in the community as a perk. So she's happy living the old retired Florida dream, I guess.
What influence did your parents have on you growing up?
Dad was hard on me for sure. Like, old South African Dutch guy, and he grew up on a farm in South Africa, worked his whole life. Both my parents were in the South African military, so there's like this discipline factor, but especially on my dad's side, he was super tough on me. It sucked growing up. Like, I resented it kind of, but it's kind of paid off. Like, made me a little bit tougher.
In what way was he tough?
Oh, he would, like, for sports and stuff, he would chase me around the neighborhood on this electric scooter, like a bike scooter, right? And he would just be like, run for miles and miles and miles. And like, I had stitches in my foot once. He like took me on a run with stitches in my foot and started bleeding. He took the stitches out. He's like, get back. Like, he was a hardo for sure.
Wild.
Yeah. And then like with schoolwork, he was super tough on me with schoolwork, and I was just terrible at all schoolwork.
Just a lack of interest?
Yeah,
or?
for sure. And he's like Rain Man with math, so he could just off the top of his head, and I was terrible at math.
So not a bad academic, you're just...
Yeah, and now I do math for work. I'm decent at the math. But he was tough for sure. And my mom was just a loving, caring, like kind of let me do what I want kind of thing. But
sure.
Always there, like I said, loving, caring, and good parents in their lanes. Definitely lucky for them.
When did they move here, and why did they decide to come to America?
From South Africa?
Mm-hmm.
It was post-apartheid, so it was just time to get out of the country for them, for political reasons, and the country's kind of taken a dive since then. And
did they find work easy here?
Well, my dad started his company, the wine company, first thing. He was like working in liquor stores and stuff, and then started that company. And like I said, my mom did a bunch of like office jobs and stuff like that. And they were successful in South Africa before coming here. So they like had a nursery chain, and they did that. And after the military, that's what they did.
You decided to serve in the military?
Yeah.
What made you choose that?
I love this country, man. It's home, and if you were born here, I truly believe you won the lottery, right? From my first year in Canada, when I was 15, I knew it was something I was gonna do. Like, especially when I was like, yeah, the whole college hockey, pro hockey, that's not gonna work out. So I knew as soon as I graduated, I was gonna enlist, and. To thank you to everyone that was serving, everyone that served before, and thank you to all the civilians too. I think it's just, like I said, I really, really do love this country. We're pretty lucky.
What was that? What was the thing that made you decide, and then how did you go about the decision of like branch and all that sort of stuff?
I think we talked about it before. Like everybody's always like, "Oh, I wanted to go special forces," and like I really, really did want to go special forces, sure. And this is before like SEALs like really blew up. Before every one of them had books and movies, and it was the year after they had killed Bin Laden, and I was like, well, "Those guys are gangsters. Let's do that." So I went and enlisted in the Navy, and at MEPS. It's like the processing before you go to boot camp. I sign all the papers, take the oath, and then I read the contract, and it said aircraft refuel technician. I was like, hold on, what's this? I was like, what's going on here? And they're like, well, you go through their boot camp, and then I think they call them A schools, or I don't know all the terminology.
That doesn't sound like special forces.
For the Navy. And then you'll get the option to try out for BUDS. Or BUDS prep school, I think they call it. I don't really remember. That was in 2012. And I was like, I'm not filling planes up. There's not a chance you guys are getting... So I had to go get permit. I went to the Marine Corps office, recruiting office that was right next door. I was like, what do I got to do to be in the infantry? And he was like, sign here, bud. and not saying that it doesn't take a lot to be, but he was like, we'll take you. And you can leave soon. So I just got a permission from an admiral, and he yelled at me and called me. He's like, "You're a deserter." And I'm like, going right next door, bud. Like, come on. And so that was actually easier than I thought it was going to be. Left for boot camp shortly after. And definitely glad I picked the Marines. It's like I'll still see like an old Vietnam vet walking to a bar or whatever wearing his old Marine Corps hat, and I go give him a hug and buy him a beer. And like I've worked with some Marines in the trade, and it's like, well, we're instantly buddies. Yeah. Like I've got this guy's back forever. And it's a special brotherhood, and it was a good 4 years of my life, and really thankful for the guys is what it ends up coming down to, is the men. And you miss, there's all the saying, it's you miss the clowns, not the circus.
Sure.
It's definitely miss the boys.
It's one thing I've gotten from, now that you bring that up, interviewed so many people and interviewed guys from every branch of the U.S. military, and I've got to say that about you Marines. You do, like...
Well, we're better than everyone, so...
You like to give credit to each other more than, if I can say it, more than the other branches. Right. You definitely, not that the others don't, but you definitely talk super positive about each other, and, kind of give credit back to each and everybody but yourselves. That's what I have noticed about Marines. It's all about you. Like, it's all about the other guys. Yeah. It's neat.
And I do a bunch of work with vets, and there's all branches. We don't have Space Force guys yet. I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be, but the banter in between all, because we got a bunch of Marines, like we're loaded on that side. But like the banter between, and like I'm talking like Green Berets, which I've got nothing but respect for those guys. Like they're hitters. I'll still like make fun of him for being in the Army. You know what I mean? It's great. So
love that. What did the military teach you?
Oh,
top two.
It taught me a lot about leadership, and it taught me a lot about patience, I think.
In what way?
Leadership. I saw a lot of really, really great leadership, and because obviously when you enlist, you're at the very, very bottom. Like you're the guy mopping the parking lot in the rain, and that so you get to witness and I only made it to E4, right? I didn't stay in for long, but you get to start to notice the different tiers of leadership, and if they're good or bad, and then you get to pick and pull. Like, oh, I want to be like that guy. I definitely don't ever want to be like that guy. Like, there's like when I saw a guy that would always put the men in front of him, I was like, I'll run through a brick wall for that guy. Like, and you could just see it, like the morale even in a small group of dudes. If it was just like like 3 dudes, you could see the morale change when the leadership dynamic was positive, and like everybody's on the same page, everyone's working towards a common goal. And I was like, that's pretty special. If a guy can not just influence, but make it those guys' goals to be like a cohesive group goal, I was like, that's pretty neat. I want to kind of carry that on wherever I go in life. Not that guy that's just like the one yelling and screaming, we're doing it this way because I said so, and like leaving everybody in the dark with stuff. And and then patience. Everyone that's ever been in any branch knows, just hurry up and wait. You're gonna do dumb stuff for days on end. And you and I've talked about like suffering before, and I was like, I've got a bunch of different litmus tests. I've told you that. I'm not going to have that many bad days anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, heck yeah. I think that this relates a lot to the trades. Just sitting there listening to you talk about like having like a common goal and communicating your common goal and direction. I chatted with Mark Savage about this a couple of days ago. I think it's a big deal. Like, I think it's a really big deal to like let your group of people, whoever you're leading, let them in on what's happening. You don't have to give them the top secret advice,
right.
or like not advice, but you don't have to give them the top secret info.
The top secret power lines.
Yeah. But at least let them in on like, this is our goal. This is our direction. Mm-hmm. This is where we're headed. This is what we're up to. This is what we're trying to achieve, whatever that is. And I think it goes miles.
Not just with the guys, but I feel like this isn't all linemen, but some linemen like the gossip. Mm-hmm. And it's like if they don't have the clear picture, then everyone's talking in the trucks like, well, this is what I heard, and then everybody's on different pages, and
that's what I mean. It's going to get away on you too, right?
Yeah.
Like then if you're not, and it was like I really should have looked this book up, but maybe you'll remember. It was a captain of a Navy ship. There was 2 ships in the fleet. One was ran completely like shitty, and the other one was ran completely well. So one was going in a terrible direction. Morale was shitty. No one knew what they're doing. Mm-hmm. The other ship was clean, kept up. Everyone felt like they had purpose. Everyone was positive, and they kind of boiled it down to a lot of things. But it was the leadership from the captain. Come on the PA every morning and give general course direction.
Right.
Like, hey, crew, just remember. We're here. We signed up for this. We're here to serve. This is where we're headed. This is where we're going. And it was nothing like the top secret stuff, but it was like giving them a little bit of like, hey, I'm in this with you. And this is our direction.
Probably treating them like men too.
Yeah.
Like, or adults, I should say.
Yeah.
Not just, but there's so much that boils down to it. And I think one of the first times I messaged you was talking about leadership in the trade. Like before I was a groundman, and I was talking to you about leadership. I don't know. It's just something that and I'm not saying I'm this great leader, but mm-hmm. I think great leadership is something to aspire for, and acknowledge and want to be around. It's pretty important.
This is what I love talking to vets about, because especially like young vets like yourself, because when other people come into the trades, say, they're typically coming in like fresh out of high school or something, right? Or they can be fresh out of high school. So unless they've played sports or done something like that, they haven't really had a great examples of leadership. All they had is like high school, your teachers in high school, which, maybe some of them are great leaders, but chances are probably not. But that's what's so awesome about vets is like they've got some life experience. They've seen some of these things. They've seen some bad leadership. They've seen some good leadership. It's been tested too. And so it's great advice, and it really does relate to the trades. And I think a lot of guys can learn a lot from that.
100%.
How did you get into the trade? How did you find line work?
It took me a couple years post Marine Corps to find this, like 5 years or something like that.
What'd you do in the meantime?
In between?
In between. Trying to sort your life out, trying to figure.
Cattle ranching, college, firefighter, hunting guide in Alaska, commercial fisherman in Alaska. I think that's...
I forgot about some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's everything.
Okay, let's break down some of those. I'm sure you got a couple of good stories in there. Fishing in Alaska.
Salmon fishing was fine. It's in summer.
Like deadliest catch style? Like,
no.
Is it crazy?
It's I worked on a gill netter, so you're just picking fish out of the...
Okay.
And...
pros and cons.
It's easier than crab fishing. That's a pro. Cons, Is
it something good? Like, I've seen people mention this, like, oh, maybe I should just go up to Alaska and go work on a ship and make some money. Is it a good way to like make a little coin? Like,
yeah. So you make good money quick. You're gonna work your ass off though.
Yeah.
You like as a guy with no experience going up there, you'll do pretty damn good for a short period of time. The crab fishing was better money than the salmon fishing, but it was significantly harder. Like that's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It was terrible. I hated it. It was so bad. Yeah. So,
just all aspects of it.
It was miserable, yeah. And I told you the last time I spoke, and I still hold. I kind of like that. I have it a recorded copy of me saying it. Is that like that's my shittiest day. Like, I can't complain at work now. Like, it's not that bad. Like, you're not puking up blood. Like, your throat's bleeding. You've been throwing up so much because of 35-foot seas and you haven't showered in 2 weeks and you're up for 72 hours at a time or, whatever it is. Hallucinating.
35-foot seas.
Oh, man, the bar the opening day was like, it was 35 foot. And I was like, you guys serious? They're like, let's go make this money. I'm like, all right.
Just instantly throwing up. Did you get used to it after a while?
Yeah, I did. With the seasickness?
Yeah.
And I got the job off a phone call. I never met this captain before. But a buddy of mine in Alaska set it up and he goes, you get seasick? I'm like, no. I've never been, and I grew up on boats.
On a fishing boat.
Diving and spearfishing and everything in Florida. I've never been seasick. I threw up so much the first 2 weeks. Like I said, my throat was bleeding. He called me a liar and stuff. He's like, you ever been on a boat? I'm like, this isn't a boat, you psycho.
They know damn well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But no, I got over that. And then the next, 2 months, no seasickness. But it was still miserable, man. It was, those are some hardworking guys, though. Some characters, but those boys will work, man.
Firefighting. What made you choose that?
I didn't work for a fire department. I did all of my the training, like the EMT and fire school and all that. That's where I met my wife, thankfully. So not 6 months wasted there. I just think that's a cool job, man.
Yeah.
I hated the medical side. After I done the training, I was like, I don't know if I could do this for 20 years. If I could go into fires every day for 20 years, I'd do that.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the stuff that she's had to memorize for paramedic and stuff, and the liability of pushing drugs and working on kids, and that's not for me.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that being real, some of those trauma scenes that you show up at.
Yeah.
So leaving the military, you're like, and this is like a really common thing too. It's like trying to find something to do after you leave the military, right?
For sure.
And you're experimenting in all these things, hunting, guiding as well.
Yep.
Were you a hunter all growing up, or
not as big as I got into it?
What made you get into it?
One of my best friends called me I think it was 2 days after I finished the fire academy, and he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I guess looking for fire jobs." He goes, "You want to come up to Alaska and go sheep hunting with me?" I was like, "Duh." I was on a flight 2 days later, and I stayed up there for 8 months. My first season, did the fishing after, came home for a couple months, went back out for another hunting season, did that 3 times, and so I got really lucky with that, and I knew I'd still turkey hunt and gator hunt and little deer in Florida, but not out west and especially Alaska, big stuff. So that's probably my favorite thing that I've done. But
it seems like that's the thing you've stuck with now. You've chosen hunting as something to carry on throughout the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'll never stop.
What is it that you love about it?
Everything, man. It's not just the hunting part of it. It's being in those places. Some of the places I've got to hunt, it's just you don't know if there's been has anybody been here in 1,000 years? There's no trace of any kind of population. It's 10-day horseback ride or something like that. It's just being in the mountains, and I'm really lucky. Some of the guys that I hunt with are my best friends, and we're just smiles the whole time. It could be raining, we're sitting there behind a spot and scope with our little makeshift, our little lean-to tarp, and we're sitting there freezing, laughing, and it's just, and it's something that I feel we've kind of lost in society. It's almost there's so much controversy around hunting, and it's unhuman to not hunt. It's something that's what humans do, and that's where I like to get our meat from in our household. I'm in a little bit of a meat crisis right now. because I haven't been working.
Damn apprenticeship.
Yeah. I was, you know what? I'll go get into line work. I'll make a bunch of money. I can afford to go hunting. And now you don't have any time to go hunting.
Roger that.
But no, that's where we like to get our meat. My buddies and I call, like, we don't want to eat any of that town meat. Get that stuff out of here.
And now they're friggin' growing it in a lab.
Yeah. I don't.
No, I didn't know that.
And everything you buy here is all from Brazil anyway. And
Wild.
yeah.
How, like, describe your biggest trip, like the biggest or funnest or best trip, most memorable trip you had in Alaska. Describe that trip a little bit, like what it takes to put something like that together.
My favorite trip in Alaska, this isn't my favorite hunting trip. My favorite trip in Alaska was probably my first sheep hunt. It was with my buddy that I told you about. And I rode in on horseback, got the camp set up. Then I got flown out of that camp, got flown to another camp. And then we Argoed for Argos are
Those little track machines.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. And this Argo had been sitting under a tarp since the season the year before, and it had just been ripped apart by a bear. I'm like, this is off to a good start. And then so we get dropped off by plane to this
They're
Argo.
not the most comfortable things to ride around in.
Not in, no. Like I call it shale, but it's like boulder, like dried out valleys, right? And you're just getting the crap beat out of you. It's better than walking, though. So it was just like planes, trains, automobiles to get to, and then it's like, all right, we're in this spot. And then it's the opening day of sheep season. The night before, we spotted a ram. And my buddy, he's an unreal sheep hunter. Like, it's what he lives for. And he comes up with this game plan. And there was we don't know if they're resident hunters or not. Well, that's just what we guessed. But the base of this mountain that this ram was on, and we figured they couldn't see him from the angle that they were at, but we could. And we're like, okay. And you can't fly and hunt the same day in Alaska. You have to wait 24 hours from when you. So we're like,
in case you see something. And okay.
Yeah, which is fair.
Sure.
So my buddy comes up with this plan. He's like, we're going to leave at 2 a.m. All right, sure. And sure enough, we did that. We make it halfway up this mountain. And I'm like, this thing was, I don't even know how many feet it was, but it was nasty. It was just a big shale pile, just jagged, nasty rock. And we make it halfway up this mountain. Sun's just coming up, and we look down. I put my binos on this tent where these two hunters come up, and I watched them get out of their tent. And I was like, yep, see you guys later. We just went to the top, and I'll show you some pictures of this mountain. Like, I had no business climbing that mountain. Like, none of us did. And I did it in Carhartts and $90 Danners from Bass Pro.
Damn. Dude.
I had to duct tape the soles on the way down. It was like, yeah. You don't need all that fancy stuff to kill sheep, I guess. And, we, start to finish, it was like a 22-hour day. We bumped a little banana ram, which is like a 3-year-old ram. It bumped this ram, and my buddy called it too. He goes, we're going to bump this ram, and that'll put this other one, the one that we're trying to kill, the legal ram, up onto this ridge line. And it happened just perfectly. Like, it was just poetry in motion. Hunter made an unreal shot at like 380 or 400 yards, something like that. Follow-up shot was great, same-ish distance. And then we had to retrieve the ram, where we basically had to climb down the mountain because we were faced out. It was a false summit, and we were peaked out. We had to come all the way up and up this other chute, and we find the ram. And it was probably my favorite because it was my first sheep hunt, and it was a successful sheep hunt. And a monster ram, just broomed on one side.
Spoiled you for life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it was like the nasty. I'll show you a video. We started this rock slide. I'm talking boulders, just coming down for 15 minutes.
Dudes being dudes.
Oh, my buddy and I rewrote it like idiots. My buddy's got a ram on his back. I got 50-some pounds of meat, and the hunters are like, "What are you doing?" And we jump on this rock slide and we're riding it down. We're like, saving the legs, I guess. Like, if we got caught in something.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just dudes being dudes, man. And then we got back to our camp at like 4 a.m. the next day, cooked up some back straps and mushrooms, and it was just
nothing better.
Oh yeah, cracked open a whiskey, and it was like just a highlight trip, man. Like,
and they don't all go like that.
No. The rest of the season, they do 10-day hunts typically. Like, No, like just hate in life, not hate in life because you're out in the mountains, it's great, but just like embracing the suck for 10 days, you know, not showering, eating out of a mountain house bag, and, you know, you're not watching TV every night or sitting on your phone, and you're carrying everything you have with you for 10 days on your back. And it's good living, for sure.
That was a rifle hunt. You bow hunt as well?
I've guided, or I've been on 3 outfitted bow hunts where the hunter was a bow hunter. 2 of them were successful, 1 was not. I bow hunt for myself. I try to. I'm getting into it. I did a bear hunt in Princeton, BC last spring, and I brought my bow. We also had a rifle on the hunt. I killed the bear, not with my bow. It was a really big bear, and it was my first bear for myself. And my wife was with me too, which was really cool. That was awesome. And I look at her, and I was like, "What do you think I should do?" She's like, "I don't know." I look at my buddy, who was the guy, because you need an outfitter as a non-resident, and I needed him there. He's a hell of a hunter. And he's like, "You better shoot that bear with the rifle." I was like, "Okay." Convince me. So.
Yeah, I've seen the Cam Haynes show there on.
Yeah, that guy's just different though.
But that bear story though, like, did you see that one?
I don't know if I've.
So Cam was all, he wasn't sure whether he wanted to put it out, but it was all filmed. They did a bear hunt, but there was rifles as well. Some of the people with him had rifles, and he shot the bear. And I can't remember how it went, whether he didn't wait long enough or not. It went into some brush.
Okay.
And he went in to see if it was dead, and it stood up and charged at him. And he was like feet from death. And
the guys with the rifles did follow-up shots.
Killed it, or else he would have been.
Yeah. Bow hunters are weird about follow-up shots.
And he was mad.
Yeah.
Like,
because then... Now that he can't use, and I'm not a numbers guy. I don't care about like Boone. I think they do great stuff for conservation, but like I don't care about Boone and Crockett score or any of that kind of stuff. But like now he can't put that in the book as a bow hunt because it was like some bow hunters are weird about that. But
I think he's just he's a purist. He's just he wanted it. He's crazy though. Like he was almost like if it was my time to go, it was my time to go, and that's how I would have, like, and he would have gone down like that. Yeah. And he was almost mad about it.
I'm good. Yeah. It's just different.
Yeah, totally. I want to talk later about what you do for vets now with hunting.
Sure.
But let's take it back to line work. Tell me then how you got into line work. How you found it and how you got in.
Allegedly stealing power from the local utility to feed a trailer on a little hunting lease on the ranch that I worked at to feed the camper. And my buddy said, he's like, you should, because I was still trying to figure out, I was like doing the hunting and fishing, and like, I was like, I can't do this forever. And he's like, you should try to be a lineman, dude. And then I just did a little bit of research, and I was like, that's a cool job. I was like, I'll do that. Do that shit all day. That's pretty neat work. I think the first video like ruined it for me. I think it was guys longlining down in the Keys, in the Florida Keys. Oh, yeah. And I was like, well, who is it? Thinking I'm gonna do that next week if I like try to get into it now. But I was like, yeah, let's do it. So and then I did some research, found a line school in Florida, got into their upcoming class, went and did that. Then I went and worked for a Quanta company as a groundman. And then I went to a program there at the Q, the VEEP program. And then finally got into the apprenticeship after like a...
So you had to, like, it was a bit of a struggle process, whatever you want to call it, to get in, right?
For sure, man. It was...
So, like we're saying, like I was saying to you before we started this conversation, I want to look at some of these like line related questions from the point of view and the perspective of an apprentice, because I get asked quite a bit, like, why don't you have apprentices on the show? For one, most apprentices that I ask to be on the show, they say, "Hell no, I don't want to be on the show until I'm a JL."
Oh yeah, like I know I'll get shit for this. I told a couple linemen, I'm like, why the hell does he want to talk to you? You don't know anything. I'm like, all right, I'll go clean the trailer,
That's
guys.
the point, guys. That's the point.
Yeah.
Braam doesn't know shit about.
There you go. It's on the record.
No, but it's a great perspective from somebody that's just recently, freshly going through it.
No.
I asked some of these old crusties that get on in that seat, what was their apprenticeship like, and they can't hardly remember because it was 25 years ago.
How'd you get into there? Oh, get your CDL, sign the books. Shut up.
Exactly. So it's not that easy because that's what what they all say.
It might be for some people.
It might be.
And that's all. And if it is, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But some people, not so much. Some people
everybody says that on social media. It's like, get a CDL, go sign the books at the hall, and then boom, you're a lineman. It's like, okay.
No.
It can be that easy, but it can also not be that easy. Your story is 2 line schools, a bunch of groundwork, keep trying, and finally in. So it's not as easy for some people.
It was great at least I was working as a groundman and just framing poles, and it was a big transmission job. The first one was in Tallahassee, 176-mile job. Setting direct in beds, doing foundations, framing poles for 10 months. Like, hey,
that's the way it goes. We've all been there.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then another job was down in the Everglades, 500 structure change out. We were just doing the foundations before everything else. So I can grout the shit out of a foundation, I'll tell you that.
So this is part of my point then too, because a lot of people say just, get your CDL, sign the books, go to work.
Yeah.
So that go to work portion might just be, framing poles, grouting foundations, just for 10 months at a time. Going to line school, was it beneficial or non-beneficial?
Definitely beneficial, man. Yeah. I mean, there's the program, the first school I went to is NLC, which anyone that's researching the trade, they'll know NLC. It's the biggest one in the country, right? If that's your way into the trade, if that's your introduction to the trade, and you have the means of doing it, go for it, right? Then the second school I went to at the Q, that's just a completely different opportunity all on its own. Like, you can't compare the two. You learn some similar things, but it's two very different opportunities. And we could talk about the V program if you want, but if that's your way into the trade, to start getting to work, go for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Explain the VEEP program from your perspective. I talk about it lots, and you've heard it, but like maybe from a vet's perspective on getting in and how that process went. Walk through the whole process.
The opportunity provided for vets there at the Q, it's life-changing. I'm so thankful for it. It's they're at the Lazy Q Ranch in LaGrange, Texas, Quanah's training headquarters. Was it 15 weeks? Is that correct? You stay there at the ranch, which I thought was awesome because I've lived in some pretty apartments, and it's a pretty good spot to be working.
Again, like, I'll just touch on that for a second. You can go back to that. My worst day was this. And you have that mental, physical
some
picture.
Some guys were complaining about, like, oh, we're stuck here. I'm like, this place is sweet, man. There's a badass gym and we get free food. Like,
your worst day is a cabin that you're sharing a bunk with some other dude and 35-foot seas and puking your guts out. And
but I was like, this place is awesome, man. Like, it's beautiful. So, if you're a part of a Quanah op unit, so I guess it would be a groundman, right? Or if you're honorably charged vet, and then I'm sure there's a time frame post service. I think it was 5 years. I don't really remember.
I think it was 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
You apply to the program, and if you get in, you go through this 15-week training program. They teach you basically everything you know to get into the trade or be an entry-level tradesman, I should say. Get tooled up. You get all your climbing gear, hand tools. You do the first year of your apprenticeship books, which I think that's massive. I think that's huge because I know dudes I've worked with the second step, and he's like, we're working. At one point, we were working every day of the week, and we did that for 4 months this year. Now we're on 13 and 1. We're working 10s, 12s, 14s. The kid doesn't have time to do his book, and if he does, he's not obtaining anything.
Yeah.
And he's still in the first year of his books. There at the Q, you're knocking out the first year of your books in 3 months, and by some pretty good instruction. Basic electrical theory, rigging, weights and forces, teach you how to climb. And then you get, at the end of it, if you do pass, some people don't, they will try to set you up with, there's different jurisdictions to the apprenticeship, and they'll try to set you up with a certain jurisdiction. And whichever one it is, you might get direct entry, you might get direct interview, and so you're getting into an apprenticeship, a union apprenticeship, which I'm not going to sit here and talk trash about union, non-union, but you're getting into the union apprenticeship, which is a pretty good place to be, and you're getting a seat in a truck with a Quanta company. So you're leaving this program all tooled up. You got the first year of your books done. You're getting paid the whole time you were there, whether it be by the op unit that sent you or by the VET Pro or the ranch. I don't know who pays the vets, but you're getting a check, and then you're leaving there with all that, with an apprenticeship and with a job. For free, and you're getting paid. It's like kind of, it's people, when I'll see people, like I follow a couple Facebook line pages, and you'll see like a kid post, or whoever, not a kid, but someone post, I'm looking to get into it, how do I do it? Oh, here's NLC. I'll message him and be like, dude, call me right now. Like if it's a vet, I'm like, call me right now. And I've sent a couple people, I'm like, he's like, there's no way that's real.
Yep.
I'm like, it is.
Yeah.
Like it's
That's what I get all the time too. There's no way this can be real. They're trying to take something from me. I'm like,
I think it's so just, I got a soft spot for vets and helping vets out. If a guy's successful at that program and a guy's successful getting through the apprenticeship, like you just changed a dude's life forever.
Yeah.
Like I'm still in the apprenticeship, and the change in my life has the trade's been pretty good to my wife and I. Like we're pretty good. I'm really happy.
It's great financially. It's a sense of purpose. Like it feels like a career that you can associate with, because it's like, it's relatable. Yeah. Plus, like it's purposeful, meaningful. Like it's a good career. It's a good thing to do for your life. Like there's a lot of people that choose careers, that aren't necessarily that meaningful.
There's shitty days at work too, but that's anything. But there's definitely more good days than bad days. And like I said, man, that program, it'll change a dude's life. So if you're a vet and you want to get into the trade, apply, do it.
Intoveep.com.
Yeah.
What surprised you the most, would you say, getting into the trade? Something you didn't necessarily consider or think about prior to, but now you're like,
Something that surprised me was like leaving the training programs, and an instructor at the Q actually said this, not a line school, an instructor, a bare hand instructor actually said this. He's like, you guys know this much. You got this much rope to now hang yourself with. And I was like, eh. But then like you get on and then you're like, oh, shit, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. And I think it's good to like go into it knowing that. Because I was like, oh, I know how to tie my knots. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a lot.
What else should someone be thinking about prior to getting in that they wouldn't realize, even if they've like seen people hint at it like that or talk about it? But like, we talked about be ready to travel. I mean, you can go work for your co-op or try to get a job by the house, but if you're gonna contract, like, be ready to travel. I bought my truck right after I left the Q 2.5 years ago. Got married, did my honeymoon, got in the truck, go sign the books in Louisiana. My truck hasn't been back to Florida since I bought it. I'm not kidding. Like, you just had to buy another vehicle for Florida?
Oh, I just Uber, or I'll rent a car when I'm home, or use the wife's car. But my first year in the trade, not including like Thanksgiving where the whole crew took off, or Christmas where the whole crew took off, I was home 15 days. Like, you're gonna travel, but sacrifice if you want to do it, then yeah.
And I love that you brought that up, because it is something like, I remember telling you that as an instructor. I remember every instructor talking about how much travel was involved with the job, and you get the same looks from faces, or you get the same responses from everybody, like, oh yeah, okay, sure, okay, week here, week there, all right.
Oh, it'll be sweet, man.
It'll be sweet. I'll get myself a camper. We'll have some fun on the road.
Yeah.
No, it turns into a job fast. That honeymoon phase disappears, and it's fun, but it turns into a job fast.
No.
How important is work ethic?
I know some lineman's going to be like, "What's he talking about?" Work. I think I know I'm a pretty hard worker, so I'll say it. I think it's everything, man. If I won't even use myself as an example because I don't want to like be cocky, but like the foreman whose truck I ride in right now, he's an older guy. I think he topped out when he was like 30. He's not old. He's an older guy.
Yeah, shit.
Don't murder me.
It's called meals.
Yeah, but man, he gets after it every day, and I love it. I love watching him. Like I'll be in the air, and he'll be just running around like crazy. And I'm like, that is so cool to watch, man. Like it fires me up. I love that. And then you'll see, not on the crew that I'm on now, because no lineman on the crew I'm on now would be doing this, but then you see guys like on their phone, and I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, be like that guy. Yeah. Like, that's awesome to me. And like, if everybody's firing on all cylinders like that, it makes the day go by so much faster. Everyone's in a good mood, and you're getting shit done. Everyone's actually paying attention, which is huge, especially like the crew that I'm on. There shouldn't be anybody on their phones, you know. And I think that just as a man, like that comes down to taking pride in being at work and working hard. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to be like that guy that's purposefully moving, you know.
Do you see it in other apprentices, the difference between the two, and then how that affects the jobs they get on, the work they do, the way they're treated?
So the last crew that I was on, I flip-flopped with two crews, and there was another apprentice with me, and we swapped crews simultaneously with two other apprentices. So I spent a bulk of my time with just one other apprentice, and I think that's just because of the nature of like being on a bare hand crew that's not apprentice heavy. And that kid was a stud. Like, he was like, I kind of hated working with him because he was so smart and just made me look like a moron sometimes. But everything would move smoother, and it was really nice to work with somebody that was kind of just dialed in, hard worker. And then you see, I didn't work with them, but I saw them on, like, we'll call it our sister crew. And I looked at the lineman, I'm like, and they were from the Q too, these two kids, which kind of pissed me off, because if you're like that, like, do good so they keep pushing the program so you can help some more vets out. I'm like, man, those guys sure do stand around a lot. Like, yeah, doesn't go unnoticed. I'm like, should I say something, or is someone else going to? And
so you talk about that. So like that was like my very next question is like reputation, and how reputation follows you. I talk about it quite a bit on here, but it's cool to hear you just like naturally bring it up. Like, hey, reputation's a big deal, work ethic's a big deal, and the two kind of follow each other around hand in hand.
And I think, I was told this before I even really got into the trade, how small the trade was, but now I've kind of seen it. Like, before a dude even gets to the crew, everybody knows something about him. You know what I mean? Like, that name gets to the crew before you do. Yeah. For sure. And I haven't had it happen yet, but if it does, it would suck. But I'm sure it's not a good feeling for your name to get there, and it's not a good thing. So now you're just walking in with this negative stigma around you already. I guess the way to mitigate that would just not give them the ammo for that. Be like, nope, guy's a stud. Take care of him. He'll take care of you.
And maybe a term that these younger people would understand is personal brand, because it's something that you see on social media all the time, is like build your personal brand. So whether you're on social media or not on social media, you're building a personal brand with everything you do in life, right? That is called your reputation for the old school guys. That is a freaking reputation.
I'll go with
right?
reputation. I'm not but yeah, I see what you're saying. I know exactly.
But that's what I mean. Like those guys, like you're building a brand. You're building a personal brand no matter where you go, what you're doing, everything you're doing, contributing to jobs, after jobs, all of it is building who you are. And that shit shows up long before you do to any job site.
For sure. Yeah. I think too, it's probably almost easier for an apprentice to build a positive one than it is for a lineman to build one. Because your responsibilities, especially as an earlier step apprentice, your responsibilities aren't that crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, keep your clients in your pocket, keep your knife, have tape, keep everything clean, be early. Like, it's pretty simple the first, until you're like in the air starting to work. And I'm not saying I've got like a bunch of experience, but I'm saying it's pretty easy when you first get in.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You don't have to make any decisions. You don't have to it's like.
So don't take it personal, or don't flare up your ego when somebody says, hey, like, carry a rag around with you and wipe some dashboards down. You know what I mean? Like, when that whole keep busy thing, like, keep busy. Don't just stand and hide in a bin and pretend to move a bolt from here to the bottom shelf, and like actually do something. But it's not like hard work. It's pretty simple. Clean the truck out.
Or like a thing that I would do is, because you can do your books now on your phone, and if we're like on a rain day or whatever where you can't, like, the guys, get out of the rain, you're breaking down conditions. Instead of sitting on your phone scrolling, be on your phone doing your books.
Yeah.
And be like, and then one thing that I would always do is I would ask a guy a question from my books, just so they knew I was actually doing my books. I'm not like just scrolling away on Instagram or whatever. But like, when you're at work, be at work, I think. Especially for the apprentices, you know what I mean? Like, I'm done with my books, but I'll still, like, if we're sitting in the trucks, when I'm on my phone, 95% of the time, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I know there's some linemen that just don't care, but for some, I know it doesn't go unnoticed where,
You've probably been with a lot of those, like, good linemen too, like on bare hand crews or whatever.
Yeah. That
on those rain days, they'll grab a piece of paper and write down a few equations for you and throw it to you in the back seat and be like, "Here, figure this out."
Yeah, I've had a couple guys that are really good about that, or my old GF would do it a lot, where he'd be like, "Hop in the truck," and then we'd like drive a couple structures down and be like, "All right, write the procedure for that." I'm like, and I really I appreciate
That's great.
that. I really did appreciate that kind of stuff, and sometimes it wasn't terrible, and sometimes he's like, "Get out of the truck." He's like, "You're an idiot.
You just killed yourself."
Yeah, he's like, "You're an idiot." And then but he'd sit me down and he's like, "Well, and run me through how we should actually do it." Or if it was good, he'd be like, "Look, you're actually paying attention." Sometimes that happened.
Describe crew dynamics and your interactions, and like how one should be, from your experience now as an apprentice, how one should be with regards to crew dynamics.
And I've been really, really lucky with the crews that I've been on. Like, I can honestly say, and we didn't even butt heads, but it was just like two linemen that were on the crews very, very briefly, and then they left for reasons. And those are the only two linemen that I couldn't find something to respect and want to give everything that I had at work for the lineman. Like, from an apprentice's standpoint, crew dynamic, like, especially early on, be seen, not heard kind of thing. Quick to listen, slow to talk. As you get more comfortable, like, I'm pretty comfortable with the group of guys I'm with now. I still respect them all as linemen, and like, if you try to pick up a shovel in front of me, I'm gonna fight you, kind of thing. And then like I'll shoot the shit with them, but I think they all know that I respect them, and that's what I'm trying to achieve. Crew dynamic, I love a good positive crew, and I'll try to push that on the guys. Like, even if I'm annoying, I try to push the positive. Like, everyone's grumpy. Like, what do you want to do? Oh, go to the house. I'm like, come on, guys. It's Thursday. We're on time and a half. Let's go. I really do try to, I try to smile a bunch, and I try to have a good time at work, and I'll yell at the guys, PMA every day, positive mental attitude. Like, that's just, the other day, like, it was Sunday. And barehanders get a barehand premium. I'm like, I know how much you're making an hour, dude. I'm like, hey, man. And we were just, we were like winded out. And we were just hanging signs 6 feet off the pole, just mag drill, 6 feet. And we got the whole line to do. So we're mag drilling all day. And I'll even call him my buddy, the lineman. He's been awesome with me in the air. He's a good teacher. I look at my buddy, and he's just miserable. I'm like, hey, man, you're making like doctor's money right now. And there's dudes sitting at the house, like, looking for work. And he goes, damn it, Braam, you're right. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good day, man. Yeah. So I think it's good to have positivity on the crew, because the second you get one negative guy, not the crew I'm on, but I've seen it on crews, the second you get one negative guy, it kind of just spreads out. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. And if you're on a bigger job, it's like that now becomes part of that job's culture. It's like everyone's miserable to be there, and it's like, if you don't want to be here, just don't be here.
Yeah. I love that you said that, because that's exactly what I remember about you, and you do bring
just being negative on.
No,
I'm kidding.
No, the opposite. You bring a very positive vibe and a positive attitude. And I was going to ask, like, you answered it already, but I was going to ask, like, what are those traits that you think that you have, that you have, that like help contribute to, good crew dynamics, and those aren't just like, they're not just for linemen, or they're not just for apprentices, but it's great to hear you say that, because like, it doesn't matter whether you're an apprentice or a lineman. That's something that you can show up with every day, and that's something that you can do, is bring a positive attitude,
right?
And it goes miles. like
if guys are like, oh, like just kind of dragging along, I'm like, man, we got 4 more structures to do today. And I'm like, shut up. I'm like, come on, we got plenty of time. We got 7 hours of daylight left. And they think I'm kidding sometimes, but I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to go sit back in my camper. Like, what am I going to do tonight? Let's keep working, boys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it. Another thing, like I said, I like to have fun at work and be with the boys, hang out. But that's all we do is work. You might as well try to enjoy it. If not, it's going to be a pretty miserable existence.
Something I want to talk to you about a little bit was safety in the industry, safety in the trade. How can an apprentice or someone who's just started out approach like an unsafe situation, or like whether they're put in an unsafe scenario or they see something unsafe?
If you're put in an unsafe scenario, like, just be like, nope, I'm out. Like, just because you're the new guy, and I've been pretty lucky, I haven't been tossed in that. And again, if the crews that I've worked on, the jobs that we do, if I was in an unsafe situation, it'd be a really unsafe situation.
Sure.
But yeah, if you find yourself in that, like, just, nope, not doing that. If you feel weird about it, like, ask the questions, do it respectfully. If you don't understand something, or you like get that gut feeling where you like, this isn't right, just don't do it. Have the conversation. You might have just caught something, and they'll be like, damn, didn't see that. Or you might be wrong, and they'll get it explained to you, and just go on throughout whatever you're doing work-wise. How a guy can contribute to safety, like an example of like safety watch on bare hand. Obviously, my first couple days on the job, like, hey, your collector band's getting, like, shut up, you don't know what you're, like, you have no, but like now, I'm not saying I catch stuff a lot, and I don't, but like, jump on the radio like, hey, face to face isn't actually face to face there. It's phase to the bottom of that yoke plate. Oh shit, thanks. Like stuff like that. And just staying focused on that. Or even safety might be talking to a safety watch and asking a question. Being like, well, the bottom of his pails, that's phase, right? And then the lineman will jump on the radio and be like, hey, are you guys good there? Just toss your stick out, measure really quick. And I think just everybody being focused on what you're actually doing, especially, obviously, barehanding, the room for errors it shouldn't be there at all. And
I think it's valid for every, sorry to cut you off there, but like I want to drive this point home. Is like, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, well, I'm not in a barehand crew. I'm never going to be on a barehand crew. How does that apply? It applies directly to a live line distribution crew, or like whatever the scenario is. Is
the way I take care of. So the way I take care of our sticks, take care of all your rubber goods that way on a live line distro crew. You know what I mean? Like, and that's on the Apprentice, right? Putting your blankets back in there, making sure everything's clean, making sure your cover up's clean, and like a clean truck is probably safer than a dirty truck.
Yeah, so. And paying attention, like you're talking about, watching clearances and bringing stuff up. You can do the same on a gloving crew. If you're on the ground, it's looking up, every couple minutes, looking up, just making sure that things, you can tell, right? Like you can tell when things are unsafe. If you've been doing it a little while, when things are encroaching distance-wise, or things just look like something is not really the way it's supposed to be done.
And again, as an apprentice, I'd rather say something to either the guy on the ground next and lineman on the ground next to me, or yell up to the guys in the air. I'd rather say something and then be like, we're good, trust me, than it be like, then something actually go wrong. I'd rather get, not an ass chewing, but essentially that.
Sure.
I'd rather get that than not have said something.
Yeah. And at the heart of it all, those guys in the air, whether they act like smart asses to you and say, yeah, don't worry, we got this.
Right.
Regardless of that, they're grateful. They should be grateful that somebody's watching.
Well, if they're not, whatever, but that's...
Yeah. This trade's notoriously bad on mental health. Former military, sure you've seen your share of either yourself or dudes that you know.
Oh, yeah.
Struggle with this. How do you blow off steam? How do you work through poor mental health?
I think that goes back to having fun at work. Like if you wake up, and like I've had periods where, like especially after I turned hot, I was like cleaning trailers a lot and wiping booms down a lot, and I was like, there was a little period where I was like, every day I was just like, damn, this is rough. And my wife's awesome about it. She helped me out a lot. And then a former foreman of mine who's been a great leader for me and a great mentor, I called him up and he gave me some advice. And so I really think that comes down to communicating that you might be struggling with something. Don't just keep that kind of bottled up. Like I talked to my wife about it, and I talked to this old foreman about it. I will call him old. He's my old foreman. I think it comes down to not bottling it up, talking to somebody, and just being honest. I would just be like, yeah, I'm not happy right now. There's nothing wrong with saying that. And then, but don't feel sorry for yourself. Come up with the solution. And the solution might be, hey, like, I'm going to go talk to, like, for me, it was, I'm going to talk to my GF, and everything that I can do in the air, I would love to do it. And if the linemen are cool with it, sure. And they're like, yeah, I don't care. I'll sit in the truck, like, go in the air, And it's just communicating, and for me, that's a big one. And like for bad mental health stuff, like I've had a lot of buddies really, really struggle with stuff. And it's finding those good outlets. Like I said, my wife's she's amazing for me. Yeah, she's been incredible. I'm a really, really lucky guy. And then the outdoors, hunting is huge for me. I've taken time off from work to go hunt, not as much as I want, but finding those outlets and just being like well grounded throughout. Don't just have the one thing. I think that's big for me.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Talk about some of the programs that you're involved with on the veteran side, outside of work. Some of your experiences with that.
On the last podcast, we talked about Wounded Warrior Outdoors. I haven't been as heavily involved with them as I have, prior to the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
They take combat wounded vets on hunting and fishing trips. I've been involved with fundraising and taking guys on the trips, finding hunts, stuff like that. Last fall, I did a moose hunt with my good buddy. I know I sent you a couple pictures and stuff. Blind amputee, Army vet, did a moose hunt with him in BC, and that when I said that the sheep hunt wasn't my favorite hunt, it was my favorite hunt in Alaska. That hunt with him, that moose hunt, was my favorite hunt. Like Amazing. It was, we didn't kill a moose. Damn guy didn't see one. You know what I mean? But we didn't end up harvesting a moose. But it's the warrior, the outfitter, another warrior, my good buddy, the one who's a phenomenal hunter from Alaska, and myself, just laughing our asses off all day in the mountains, man. It was incredible. And then being around a guy like that is it's humbling. It's a learning experience. It's something
what
special.
An amazing individual too, though. Like,
oh, man.
Blind amputee, let's go hunting. Like, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. And I've done a couple trips with him, but even like the other warrior on that trip.
How does that work? Just so people understand. Like, how do you...
Like, how do we shoot together?
Yeah.
We utilize a system called the phone scope. It's a bracket that you mount onto a rifle optic, and then there's a phone case that has an adapter that locks into place, like a snap lock, onto that adapter on the scope. And then you go into their app, the phone scope app, which is essentially just the camera, and it lines up perfectly. So now I can see the sight picture on the phone, so what you would be seeing through the scope. He shoulders the rifle, and we use a really good tripod. He shoulders the rifle. I manipulate the safety, but he fires it. He does everything else. So, and I've shot at 1,000 yards with him. So he's pretty good.
That's unreal.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
We were checking zero on his rifle at my buddy's ranch in Princeton, and we have a very specific system when it comes to the verbiage and how we shoot, and me manipulating the safety and the commands and two-way protocol kind of thing. And I'm about to say fire, and I go fire. I don't just go fire, so it's fire. And I'm about to say fire, and he just lets one rip at 750 yards, and he rings this plate like dead center. I'm like, I put it on safe. I'm like, what was that, Joel? And he goes, you were going to say fire. And I was like, what? And I can't even be mad. And we got it all on video and everything. I can't even be mad at you, you psycho. But he's obviously an amazing individual, but all the guys, like the other warrior that came on that trip, he filmed it, took a bunch of pictures. If you looked at this guy from the out, like, he's not missing, he doesn't have prosthetics or anything. He had a traumatic brain injury. And that guy's like, he's one of my best friends, and he's one of my heroes. Like, the stuff that he's had to overcome, and just the way he interacts with other vets and what he does for the community as part of the community himself. Like, it's just such an incredible group of people, and I'm lucky to be around them, all of them.
Cool. How does one get involved with that if they want to get involved in any way?
They're I think I mentioned to you last time, they're pretty slow on social media, and it's due to the nature of some of the warriors transitioning, some of them from special forces, and they do some fundraising. Some of the fundraising that I had done was a little more public, but it wasn't Wounded Warrior Outdoors' fundraiser. It was mine in support of WWO. Gotcha. They're pretty private about their stuff, but they are on Facebook, woundedwarrioroutdoors.com. The logo's a troop saluting within a bear paw. It's not Wounded Warrior Project. It's Wounded Warrior Outdoors. So if you want to support them, sometimes they post fundraisers and stuff on their Facebook. So, trying to take that guy I was talking about, trying to take him on a moose hunt in September in Alaska. So we'll see.
Damn, 14? Just right to Alaska for a moose hunt.
Well, he did a mountain lion hunt in Montana last year. He's up in Princeton right now. Not actually hunting for himself. He's helping out. There's 4 warriors on a bear hunt up there right now, so he's up there. So I want to take him on a 14-day float trip, go moose hunting. Damn. So
when do you top out?
I need a bunch of hot distribution hours. So whenever the apprenticeship sees fit to move me, when there's work available. But that's all part of the process. A bunch of guys say, give me for like not having topped out yet, and I'm like, man, it's been 2.5 years. Like, I have like 7,400 hours logged. It's supposed to be around a minimum 7,000 hour apprenticeship. So everyone gives me shit for like, you're gonna be a 15,000 hour apprentice. I'm like, maybe, but. When I get moved, and
hey, that's okay.
I'm like I said earlier, I'm not complaining. I'm happy. I'm thankful just to be working. So, gonna learn as much as I can. The crew that I'm on now, the kind of work that we're doing, I want to learn as much as I can while I'm on that crew and try to get as good and proficient at that skill set and work practice that we're doing. Yeah, and I like the energized side and. I've got to do some cool stuff. Obviously not barehanded, but like climbing towers and sticking and stuff. And that's the stuff I really enjoy. Yeah. So it's been haven't got my hot district time, but it's been a good experience so far.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Alaska. But the wife.
Really?
100% Alaska.
I guess you just talk about hunting.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd say Alaska, the realistic answer.
What zone? What's the best zone in Alaska? Any of it?
There's a little town outside of Anchorage. I don't want to live in Anchorage by any means. There's a little town that I think would be a good spot. It's called Wasilla. That's still has stuff for the wife to do, but quick, super cub ride, and I'm in good hunting country. But that's a good spot. But anywhere up there, man. I got good friends that live outside of. Denali National Park, and I'm like, I'd live there too, like wherever.
If you weren't on this road to become a lineman, what do you think you'd be doing?
Hunting.
I love how you have a backup. Like you have a plan B.
My buddy and I might start a little outfit up there when I top out. Nothing big and crazy, like 1 or 2 clients a year, but when I top out, depending on what kind of work I get into and all that, I might have more capacity to keep helping vets out. Mm-hmm. But like on my own means, not having to go through another organization or like, all right, hey bud, pack your stuff. We're going on a caribou hunt. So
love that.
Yeah.
Cool, Braam. Well, thank you for doing this. Thank you for taking time out of your day, making it here.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. Good stuff. Bye,
thank
everybody.
You.
I hope you guys got some value out of that episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I just want to draw your awareness to a couple of other things. So we make these podcasts, yes, but it's not the only thing that we put out as far as content. Our social medias are full of valuable cuts from the podcast itself, as well as just a bunch of other educational stuff and entertainment. So go follow us at Powerline Podcast on all social media platforms. And then also YouTube. I don't think that a lot of you are aware of this, but we don't just load these podcasts onto YouTube. We also make vlogs, which are super educational, entertaining, great place to direct people to learn about the industry, learn about the trade, or just learn about what's going on within either Quanta or the Powerline industry in general. So hit up our YouTube channel. Again, it's at Powerline Podcast. You can catch those vlogs on there. We also load a bunch of other extra content in video form. We try to up the quality every time we do this. We try to up that quality. So hit up the YouTube channel. Make sure you're subbed to all those platforms. Appreciate you guys. Hope to see you again soon. We'll see you again soon. Peace.